everyone. Welcome to Task Chronicles, where we talk to our incredible users who've been using Task platform to build these AI chatbots to automate business workflows and enhance their productivity. Today, we have Scott with us, who's been uh, building AI chatbots on our platform for a good number of years, and he's recently built Mercy, which is a AI chatbot for a local travel website. And in this video, we'll be focusing on how Scott got into chatbots, what he's been building over time, the challenges he's faced, and maybe the impact it has created for the users of the travel portal itself. Thank you, Scott, so much for being here today, kicking off this series itself. And it's going to be fun. Over the next few minutes, we're going to be diving deep into just understanding what you've been building and what was that process like, what have been your learnings, and all of that. So thank you so much for being here today and giving us the time.
Happy to be here.
Awesome. So, Scott, just to get started, I think it'll be good to get some introduction from you. You work in the government sector, have been dabbling with no-code, low-code applications and chatbots for a good number of years. It'll be interesting to just learn a little bit about your story, where you come from, what you've been doing, and maybe it would be interesting to also talk about Mercy, the travel portal chatbot that you've created using Task. So a little bit about your journey would be super helpful.
So I've spent the past 5 years working in the government sector. Started off managing websites, and now I'm at the point where I'm developing low-code applications and integrating chatbots into our government department, but also speaking to other departments all around Australia to sort of talk about chatbots and advise on how they can build them. And during that experience, I have built a lot of chatbots, used a lot of platforms, which sort of inspired me to actually take Mercy, which is a chatbot I built for my travel website, and make it into what it is today, which is actually a really engaging chatbot platform. So Mercy is essentially a chatbot. It sits in the corner of our travel website. People can ask it anything about Devonport. It can ask us about local events, businesses. It can make recommendations. We've experimented with a few platforms, other sort of chatbot platforms with Mercy, but nothing's really came close to what Task can do, especially with that being able to engage in conversations, be able to sort of read that chatbot history. It can, if it's unsure, it can go and ask questions and really work out exactly what the user's looking for.
Mm-hmm. Got it. And how did you, because you've got this travel portal and I think it's been a few months now that you implemented this AI-powered chatbot on the travel portal itself. But what was the need for it? Did you see some user behavior which you felt like, hey, I should be implementing a chatbot solution on top of my website? What was the need? Were you seeing any challenges or user behavior there?
So I suppose we have over 300 pages of content on our website. It's a lot of content for a user to review, or they may only be interested in certain things, and website search engines usually aren't the best.
Right.
So that sort of really inspired me to look at building a chatbot. I wanted a natural language search for our users, and something that they can sort of build a relationship with and have that sort of getting users coming back to actually talk to the chatbots.
Right.
So that's sort of the main reason I went to it. Another reason is trying to work out what people want to read about and what information we're missing is really difficult to know. So to view the chat logs and to see, well, they're asking about a business, that they want to know a specific bit of information about them, or they want to know a bit of information about an event that we haven't covered. I can read it in real time and actually go and research it and put it there into the chatbot so it's ready to go next time they ask about it or someone else is interested. And that's been one of the big strengths and how it's improved our websites.
Yeah. This is something I've heard from a lot of our customers where they mention that they've got a website with tons of content, especially with travel websites and government organizations as well. There's a lot of content on the website, and it's so difficult because you try to categorize that information with a menu bar or just, some sort of categorization, but still it's so hard to get to the right information. And I think what you just mentioned, rightly, is how can I just go in, ask a question, and then get like that bite-sized response and go deeper into that question itself. I think that's the value. It is like a chat GPT for your own website for these 300 pages of content. If you think about it, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, and so what's the core functionality? Is it primarily, if I am a traveler coming on uh, the Devonport travel portal itself, what all can I do on Mercy today? What's the core functionality, and what sort of user conversations have you seen happening on the chatbot?
Yep. So currently it's designed for residents and tourists are coming into the city. But the main use case is really being to allow people to interrogate the website and rather instead of going through pages and looking through content, getting that exact information in future. And it's something I've been recently looking at, allowing it to actually book hotel rooms and search availabilities from inside the chatbot. So aiming to do hotels, maybe even flights, and really make it so it can actually take actions on behalf of a user.
Right.
Make it have a full end sort of experience, because we've just recently sort of released an Android and iOS app. So Mercy has been a big part of that with a dedicated button to open it up, and it sort of becomes almost like little personal assistant in Devonport. Our articles are sort of split between resident and tourists. So things like waste collection, what you can and can't put into your bins, all that information Mercy can answer for our residents.
Right. This is actually interesting. The how you are approaching approaching these functionalities in a phase by phase manner, because I talk to other folks who want to do everything in the first go itself, but what you're doing here is in the first phase you've basically made it more so like a sort of a information delivery sort of a platform where I can ask questions and get a response, and now you're getting it to be more transactional in nature as well, where I can go ahead and take actions, which is booking a flight or booking a hotel as well. So which would increase the the usability of the chatbot in itself.
Yeah, so one of the reasons why I did that was mainly because prompt engineering is such a big thing, and getting that prompt right, it's really difficult if you have a lot of transactional stuff going. But if it's purely information, you can then look at what users are asking, and if it can't answer or answers just in a why you don't want it to do it, you can really fine tune that sort of prompt to make it exactly how you want it to be. So before, if a user would ask what's happening this Saturday, the chatbots would just give them random events that happen on a Saturday. It could be a once in a year event. Now it will actually ask it, what date are you talking about? Can you give me the exact date? And then it can go and look on our website and say, well, there's no events at the moment. And then it might say, well, you could go to the park and have a picnic. So it actually gives you suggestions, and it can really target its search down. And that's all because of the sort of prompts that I've given it.
That's amazing. And this is something I was meaning to ask the next question, which is it is hard, right? While it might seem easy to get accurate responses, it's still a very hard problem, and it takes these iterations to get to a good user experience, because at the end of the day, the user doesn't care if it's an AI chatbot or a human responding. All they care for is the right information to be delivered to them. And so how did you go about, this is like 300 pages of content, which could be about events, about these parks, about how to do something in the city. Uh, how did you go about, structuring this information? That is one. And secondly, even training the chatbot itself. Um, are there any learnings in this entire process itself, which, and what were you optimizing for? Was it the accuracy of the response? Was it about that the chatbot should not be hallucinating or giving random responses? Or was it about how can I make it more conversational so that it's just not giving me a response, but actually asking follow-up questions as well? Like, too many questions, but
Yeah.
like, you get the gist.
So at the time I decided to go and build Mersey, I was also sort of moving my site to a new platform. So as part of it, I had to rebuild everything, including the content or the pages. I had to do it one by one, which is a bit time consuming. But what it allowed me to do is I could build a layout which I thought would work better with how the chatbot operated. Which also allowed me to, as we first released it, I would ask questions, and the information I was putting into that website, and this is when we had about 200 pages of content to begin with, they would ask information about it, and we might have excluded it in the redesign, or it might have been sort of hidden away where it was too difficult to get to. So it allowed me to really structure that website so it help the chatbot find the information.
Right.
So that was one of the sort of benefits of actually rebuilding the site as I was training the chatbots.
And that's primarily about the structuring of the data, the knowledge-based part of it, right? Did you do anything specific? You mentioned about the prompting part of it. Did you do something specifically, because it might have taken you iterations to get to a good user experience?
Yes.
Were there any learnings on that side as well? Yeah.
The initial prompt I had was detailed, but it wasn't detailed enough. And where sort of PAR's benefits is you can put really detailed prompts in, which other platforms usually limit to a few hundred characters. So it allowed me to initially start off with prompts, see its weaknesses, and then drill down into more specifics. So it was common things that it couldn't do. I could then say to it, in this specific circumstance, answer in this way. So it took a lot of time to build the prompt, and I'm still sort of fine-tuning the prompt and adding instructions in. But it's getting to the point now where it can have an active conversation with the user. The information is accurate, and I can give it instructions on where to look on the website for specific information.
Right.
And that's really helpful with the different uses of words. We have a lot of people, it'll be like 6 or 7 words for one thing, and we can't use all those words in our content. So to be able to give it definitions, I know with our restaurants, like you could ask for Asian restaurant recommendations, and it had a very limited understanding of what a restaurant in or what countries was sort of linked to Asia. So I could give it specific instructions on this. In this category group, these are the cuisines that you're looking for. And then I asked it again the same question it could have answered before 100%, and actually looked for all the categories.
Right. These are very interesting insights. I mean, even something I haven't experimented with, like in terms of because every time I speak with someone who's done something around the prompting, there are these new learnings, and there's no sort of a best practice or a guideline yet defined as to what are those things to be done in the prompting. I think everyone is experimenting and trying to figure out what gives them the best response. I'm putting you in a spot here, but do you want to actually share your screen and share what that conversation looks like? I think people will get to see your website, the travel portal itself, and maybe just the front end part of it, which is how the chatbot works and what sort of interactions could happen on it. Yeah.
just move my screens around, but let me share my screen. So, can you see that?
Yeah, I can see it.
So this is my website. This is Mersey sitting in the corner here.
Right.
There is a initial sort of prompt letting them know it's a sort of an AI-powered response. So they know they're not actually talking to a person, because I have developed chatbots before, and if you don't say it, people will get very upset with it and insult it.
Right.
I've got lots of stories about them from other chatbots I built. So in the case here, we'll use fairy penguins. So we've got a park or a beach, which is a known penguin sort of breeding area. So we can say something like, just say hello to it. So it's provided a helpful response for the tourists to actually find out. And this is a question that was actually just asked today about when they could go and see the penguins. So.
Nice. Got it.
Another response could be, we've got a page about public holidays. So we could say, what are we? Let's say in April.
Nice. Okay. It's picking up. Mostly the April ones. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's been able to detect the date, and it's give March, but that goes into the April sort of holiday period. And one which I've been quite happy with the response I've seen a few people ask.
This is an interesting question.
It's given me some suggestions for outdoor activities, cultural experiences, relaxation, and shopping.
This is pretty great, and it gives you a very neatly formatted response as well. Very well categorized into shopping, leisure, and all of those. Nice. This is
So that was part of my prompting.
Oh, is it?
Make sure it was very structured in how it gave its recommendations.
Awesome. And are there any interesting use cases or feedback from the users? Because I guess this is out there. This is live on your website. People are coming in every day and asking questions to it. Any feedback? Any interesting conversations that stood out for you? Anything funny that has happened on this?
So with this one, it's been so it's not been as interesting as other chatbots I've seen, but this is only sort of in early stages. But we've had people ask for taxis, and the chatbot's been able to direct them to taxi services in Devonport. And they didn't mention a taxi; they just said they wanted a ride from the airport into the city. It's been pretty much tourist-based questions. Nothing too funny. I've seen some funny ones in my government chatbots I built, but this one people are sort of really into, really just interested in Devonport.
Nice. And I think if this chatbot didn't exist, or what you mentioned earlier, the other way to find the same information would have been people searching on. Obviously, people must be landing on your website through a Google search itself, but the other way would have been to find.
say Google's our main source of traffic for organic search, and then Facebook's the next way people find information. We do have a search function here, but it's not the best.
Yeah, like if you search for
It's
holidays in April, yeah, like if you search for holidays in April, I don't think it would like
yeah, I don't think. Yeah, it won't do it. It just gives you a bunch of
links. Yeah,
things that would meet that keyword. So this sort of really is a great search engine for your website, and that's sort of how I've been promoting it as a great way to discover things that people wouldn't know about Devonport. We have a lot of history articles. We have a few history articles as well, so you can learn about sort of a history of Devonport, and the more interest we have in certain topics, it comes through a chatbot. So the next day we'll actually research and write an article about it. That gives us some great topic suggestions.
nice. And like now, I know it's still early days, but now this is out there on the website. People are interacting with it. When you implemented this, you might have thought that, hey, this is gonna help my users get to the right responses. But at this point of time, are you thinking of some metrics to see, hey, how do I measure the impact of how this is working out, and what's the next stage to it? Like, are you thinking about some sort of metrics, which could be user engagement, could be the efficiency, could be I don't know, like in terms of the accuracy of the response? Like, is there any metrics that you're looking at that or because right now you do each response, but
yeah, so accuracy is probably one of the main sort of metrics that I look at. So I'll go and read through all the conversations, and I'll make sure like they're answers that I would want the chatbot to give. And if it isn't, I'll look, is it my content that's the problem, or is it how the chatbot's understanding the question? And then that's where the prompt engineering comes in to make sure the next time that question's asked, the answer's correct.
Right. Got it. And this is actually such a good. It's so simple, but it's such a good insight because people feel that they will just put in their website, it will crawl through, it will create a knowledge base, and then just it should just work and give 100% correct responses. Then that's not really the case. There is a good amount of effort to look at how the AI chatbot is responding, and then from there onwards keep looking at, hey, is it my content, or is it the prompt, or is there something wrong which I can do better? But this is such a simple but a great insight to look at the responses over and over again and keep making it better, maybe every week or every month from there onwards.
Yeah, so one of the things that I've learned from previous experience of chatbot platforms, especially with large sites that people looking for specific information, a lot of ones I've used look from it sort of focuses on keywords. It doesn't actually try and understand the context of what they're saying. So again, you'd have lots of words for one word that you'd been using on the website, but if you're not actually using those words, the chatbot has no idea what the user's talking about. And one chatbot, this was before OpenAI, and it was the keyword and natural language sort of processing, very base level. I think I spent like 4 months building it out, adding content in for manual streams or conversations.
Right, got it.
Yeah, these AI chatbots are pretty amazing compared to where I was a few years ago.
Yeah, right. I think if you want, you could stop sharing your screen, because I think we've gone through this. Gives me I did go through and ask a couple of questions, and it was giving good responses, but I wanted that we should showcase what we are talking about here as well. To your last point, I think that's a good segue. I read on the Discord channel that our Discord community, that you've been promoting and advocating TARS to other businesses, government organizations within Australia. I'm just curious as to what exactly are you doing? Why are you advocating for TARS as a platform? I know it's a selfish vested interest from my side, but I'm just curious to why do that.
So as part of my main work, we're considered sort of the leaders, so we're the first ones in the government space, to local government and then state government to actually go out and introduce a chatbot onto our website. So the connections I've made through there, a lot of either state, federal or local governments will come and ask for advice when implementing chatbots. And I'll let them know my experience of different platforms, and a lot of them don't really do what they say they're going to do, so you waste a lot of time, but TARS has been that platform that is just consistently working.
Right.
It's really as simple as that, and with the ability to use APIs, and I believe you've got SharePoint integration. I haven't played around with it yet, but that's one of those big things where governments use SharePoint for everything, the document management. It's just the features that they need. It's there for more advanced integrations.
Right. And how do you see it? Like one is obviously the government sector itself, but how do you see from your perspective, these AI agents, which is the talk of the town right now, the AI chatbots benefiting government and even the private sector? Do you have any thoughts around? Because I think a lot of folks out there are looking to implement such a solution, but it's a very difficult exercise to like preempt the impact that it would create. So the ROI versus investment is not very clear.
Yeah.
To just get into it and start seeing the impact later. But how do you, when you go out or when these government organizations are coming to you, how are they seeing the benefits of this, or how do you position the benefits of something like this?
So there's two parts depending. For government, you've got the departments that want the scrape the website content, and it's purely informational. It's really what drives government is the ability to have a lot of their common questions answerable automatically, so it reduces the amount of people calling up or emailing or submitting tickets.
Right.
But a big benefit I see, and this really comes down to how the government's set up, like their ERPs and all their other platforms, is to be able to make a self-service artificial intelligence chatbot, so the ability to update your details or pay bills inside the chatbot, and then it integrates directly with your ERP, so you can pull information out, authenticated information out once the user authenticates, and to be able to then do things like pay their bills or register their dogs, update their details. So that's sort of the big benefits. It really takes the strain off customer service staff, but it also just provides a better experience, because if you can do all this on a company, let's say your phone provider's chatbots, which I've played around with, you, I'll let you do it, then you should be able to do it with your own government services. Government should be ahead, in my opinion, in sort of AI and their services, which I know they're not, but they should be. They shouldn't be sort of trailing behind the private sector.
Yeah. Ideally, yes. Because it helps all the citizens, all the folks out there, because everyone interacts with government services, and it like they get such good experiences on the private sector, and the hope is I should be getting good experiences with government services as well. Yeah.
And when you get to the point where you provide a poor experience to do something very simple, where it takes 2 or 3 days to update your details because it goes through approvals, when it could be done automatically, it really damages trust in the government organisation. And I've been to quite a few conferences, and everyone wants to be there, but the systems and the time it takes to implement it and the costs, it really scares away people sort of in leadership positions on it.
Right. And I do want to point out one thing, which is like this sort of skepticism or question that everyone has in their mind, that it's so hard to implement such systems. But I think I just want to put it across there that this particular AI chatbot that you were just showcasing is you. I think it's just you who has built it. I think
Yes.
you've not even asked for help from our team to help you, maybe a few questions here and there, but it's pretty much just you who has implemented the entire system all by yourself. So it just needs someone who's curious and wants to do it. It's
Yes.
not super hard problem.
I mean, yeah, and that's the benefit with these sort of low code or no code platforms, that you don't need to hire a consulting company to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to develop something you can do yourself. And
Right.
it's one of the big lessons I've been pushing in my talks with the federal and local governments. You don't need consultants to do this work
Right.
for you. They'll still do it, but you don't need it. Like, you can have your own staff do it without large investments. So.
Yeah, exactly. Any other advice? Any other advice from your years of building, these, chatbot solutions? Any advice for the new builders, new creators out there? Because I guess everyone at this point of time is thinking how to integrate AI within their enterprise, within their organization. I think this is the final question I have, which is just any advice for anyone who's looking out to build these AI agents for themselves or for their businesses.
I think know what your desired outcomes are and don't set your goals too high to begin with. Taking a structured approach, start off with something small, whether it's just getting your prompt correct and getting accurate information. That would be my sort of big recommendation. And then once you start getting to the more advanced features, make sure you test it, because a lot of people will throw out a feature, and I know it is hard for people to do detailed testing if you don't have a large staff, and even getting your staff to want to test can be difficult. But if you don't test it, as soon as that user finds an issue with it, it ruins the entire experience.
Right. Yeah, testing is hard. Testing is hard, and nobody wants to test it, and it's a hard problem. But that's a good insight that first up, don't keep your hopes very high, or don't just try to do everything in the first go. And secondly, just test out what you're putting out there. Those are really
I
good.
know the first chatbot I built, we got very little uptake for testing internally, so it was pushed out to the community and it was trial by fire. It failed more times than it succeeded, but this is manually creating each interaction and entering keywords in, so it eventually got to the point where we're happy with it. But if you don't test, you're never going to know the weaknesses in it.
True. Totally. I think, Scott, that's pretty much it. What I wanted to, ask you today. These have been amazing insights, especially around, how to go about building, scoping out the outcomes itself, and then testing out what you're putting out there. I think this is going to be super helpful for anyone who's going to listen in to this, and then starts creating something on our platform. And I think what you walked us through the entire chatbot journey itself on your own website. I think that's a great example of how good user experiences can be built out without having to invest too much in terms of resources or bandwidth as well.